Hey everybody, hope you're having a really beautiful day. I certainly am, as I'm super excited to share about cacao and cacao ceremonies in this video with you. So my name is Dante. If you're new to my channel, I do healing work. I've been on the spiritual path for the past 8 years, since 2011. And I've been working with cacao and cacao ceremonies since 2013. And this medicine has helped me a lot, and it's becoming a lot more popular now. So it's part of this, evolution in consciousness that we're going through now. And cacao is a really beautiful asset for this because cacao's purpose is to bring us into heart-centered consciousness. In this video, I'm going to discuss with you how I work with cacao and what the properties of cacao are, why the cacao that we use in ceremony is probably different than some cacao that you may find out there, and as well, how I developed this relationship with cacao, what I've learned about cacao through working with teachers and working with others who have been experimenting and co-creating in their relationship with cacao. And yeah, so I discovered cacao in 2013. Like many people back then, I didn't really know that chocolate could have some of the very powerful properties that I discovered it does have. And through traveling around the world and leading ceremonies over these years, I've really sort of changed the way that I work with cacao a lot, just to, as I deepened in my own journey and found many different modalities and many different ways of seeing things that worked for me, been able to implement those and bring those into the space. So what is universal about cacao is that it's heart medicine, and it's not as if it is some other medicine ceremony where you just drink and then you go out and allow the medicine to work with you. It's more about your co-creative relationship with chocolate and with the space. So I aim, I don't know about every person who works with cacao, though I think there is quite a good idea that cacao is about a community heart-centered space. So everyone creates that in their own unique way, and what makes cacao so unique is that it allows your own intention and your own creativity to kind of manifest through the experience, in a sense that, other plant medicine that people work with can be very overwhelming and can have its own agenda to push people in a certain direction. Whereas cacao is simply allowing you to create the space that you want to experience. And that's a very beautiful thing about this plant. And that's why there's so many different ways of working with cacao. So sometimes people will go to one cacao ceremony and think that they experience all there is to learn about a cacao ceremony, when really everyone works with cacao in a different way. Though again, what's universal is this heart connection. So after you have cacao, you'll feel this kind of expansion in your heart. It may feel like a warmth. It may even feel like a tightness if your heart has been closed or cold and it's really working to open your heart. You may feel that. It increases your heart rate from anywhere between 40 to 60%, and as more blood flows through your body, you get this sort of activation. Cacao also has so many different other compounds, not all that we know very much about, that go into the brain and create this sort of increase of serotonin and different kinds of compounds that allow people to relax more. One thing that cacao produces is oxytocin, which is normally produced through human touch. So we've always had this sort of association between, chocolate and love. And that's really because when we have enough chocolate in a pure form that's not distorted or not, blended with any chemical stuff, this oxytocin is released in the body that allows us to really just surrender and feel that deep sense of love. So cacao will always bring this kind of experience of deeper love from within, unconditional love that is really your true nature, deep in your heart. Cacao brings that to the surface for you to do whatever you would like to do with that. So I work with cacao in creating a space where people can really feel safe and held, and we do different processes to help people go deeper into their own connection with themselves and with each other, kind of like this dance back and forth between opening up and sharing your experience and sharing your voice and your magic, and then allowing yourself to relax into that inward space with the medicine and feel what do you want to transform? What are you ready to let go of? What are you ready to create anew in your life? And it's very fun. It's one of my it's probably the most fun I have of, you know, life in general. It's like, wow, those moments where you can really create that space. It's so deep and profound for me and for, I think, most people who choose to have that experience. So there's this heart sharing where we speak our intentions, or we speak what's alive in our heart, and everyone takes the chance to allow their truth to form and be expressed, and listen to what everyone else has to say. And from there we go into many different processes, and through my work with the Cacao Shaman and with many other spiritual traditions, I've kind of developed meditations that help people relax into the space and relax into that connection with the medicine that kind of evolves into this feeling of love, openness, where they can get aware of what's transforming inside and bring more energy into that space. And from there, you know, I work in many different ways with ceremonies. At times in the past, it was really about doing these different guided meditations to help people gain more self-awareness and allow them to express themselves in the group. And now I'm evolving into other directions as well, to incorporate sound healing, different practices that allow us to discover our voice and express ourselves and use our voice as this alchemical tool to release blockages. And as well, sound healing, so using different instruments and my own voice and channeling, and through that bringing people into more hypnotic states in which they can get in touch with their guides. They can really feel those vibrations going into their bodies and rewiring, helping them to relax and surrender. And I also combine this with channeling, and I don't want to make a whole video about channeling because this is about cacao. There's tons of channeling videos on my YouTube channel, probably more than anything else. So you can take a look at some of those. I'll explain briefly what channeling is. So I'm allowing Pleiadian council or different beings sometimes to speak through me and deliver messages to the group. And I find that when this is brought into the container of a cacao ceremony, it allows people to, you know, they have this open space where we've already created this deep heart connection with one another. So those deeper subjects that are the most important ones to really bring into the channeling session, they feel more open to speak about. And then they have this whole group energy to aid in their process with that. So I have a kind of unique way of working with cacao ceremonies, and that's just kind of, we all have a unique way. I'm not saying my way is more unique. Maybe it's a little weird, but with the channeling, with the sound healing, with light languages, with all of this, it's I don't see that many other people using cacao in that way. So that's why I mentioned that whenever people are like, oh yeah, I've been to a cacao ceremony before, because there's many beautiful ways of working with cacao ceremony as well. Many people combine that with kirtan, with singing devotional songs and mantras. And, you know, this is always an experience that brings people to bliss and openness and surrender. Some people combine cacao with sound healing. A lot of people combine cacao with ecstatic dance, and that's incredible because cacao just gives you so much energy and life force to just move around and be creative and be playful. It opens you up without bringing you down in ways that other catalytic substances can do. So it just opens you up and gives you this love and enthusiasm. And I love to bring, you know, sometimes I like to work with other people who are great at facilitating dances and combine what we do and fuse that into one cacao ceremony. There's so many ways that we can work with this. And yeah, why does cacao aid in these kinds of experiences? And it's really because it's heart medicine. Again, it increases our heart rate. It brings us this warmth with these different compounds, serotonin, oxytocin, one called anandamide, which is rarely produced in the body. It's produced when someone is born and when they give birth. So it's this kind of deep bonding experience, and it can really, through that kind of frequency it brings forth, help us in rebirthing ourselves. So every chocolate can be like a cleanse, of being born anew into something different. Cacao really helps us to, you know, dive into this love, and we can do anything we want with that. I think I said that before. And when we drink chocolate, it's a personal experience as well. So a lot of people really love to maintain that connection with chocolate and have cacao frequently, even every day. Cacao can be, it's not more or less healthy than coffee if you have it every day. It's probably more healthy than coffee because it has so many different things in it, like magnesium and all of these, calcium. It's rich in minerals that nourish your body and also boost your mood. So it's a wonderful thing for anyone who is experiencing some degree of depression. It just fills you with all of these goodies inside. So, it is important the specific kind of cacao that's used in ceremony. So this cacao that I have, this is a block of cacao, and I can explain a little bit about how it's prepared. But it comes from Guatemala. It comes from the land of the Mayan people. And for the Mayans and Aztecs, cacao is a sacred teacher plant they called chacoy, which means, well, the Aztecs called it chacoy. That means heart blood. And, other tribes and indigenous people had different teacher plants. So cacao actually has two different genuses, and the chocolate industry kind of fused those two different genuses to make a hybrid strain, though the genus of cacao from Central America has less caffeine, smaller beans, a stronger energy, and the cacao from South America has more caffeine, bigger beans, sweeter beans. So that's very good for making chocolate that tastes great, though for the purpose of ceremony and heart connection, we would prefer to use the chocolate with less caffeine. Some people who are acclimated to caffeine can still have meditative experiences with cacao that is caffeinated, though in general you want a space that's more shanti and relaxed for the cacao ceremony, as that's what allows people to dive really deep. So this cacao, it's still quite stimulating. You'll still feel this powerful heat and warmth. Your heart rate will still increase, and it has even more of those good things for your brain and for your body, the minerals. And it is processed very slowly. Cacao is not a raw food, so one misconception about cacao is that there's raw cacao, and you can get raw cacao beans, but like most nuts and seeds and grains, in its raw form, cacao has anti-nutrients. So if you start to take a lot of anti-nutrients in, or take a lot in one go, that's a toxic load on your body. Maybe a small toxic load, but nonetheless it builds up over time and it's harder to digest. People who have digestive disorders may have a hard time with raw cacao, and it's also just not as good tasting. So cacao is one of those exceptions to the raw food thing, where in its cooked or slightly cooked form, and it's not like boiled or made very strong with the heat, it's just slightly roasted, and this is actually healthier and tastier and better for you. So the cacao beans are taken from a fruit pod that grows in tropical areas, and it's like a long pod. Every genus of cacao has different sizes of the pods and the beans, and inside it's covered in this delicious white milky fruit substance that you can just eat if it's fresh. And then you dry the cacao beans and they ferment, then you toast them. Ideally you only toast them enough just to get the shells off, and once they kind of pop, you know that the shell can come right off, and then it's ground, turned into this powder or paste. And well, yeah, it's most likely a paste because the grinding of it warms it up, and then the paste goes into this bag and makes pure chocolate. One of these blocks is a pound and has, there's like 10 and 2/3 portion of cacao. My teacher said 40 grams of cacao is the best amount to work with. Some people need less cacao even. I find that people are becoming more sensitive, so even 30 grams of cacao is often enough to get you moving and flowing. And so the cacao is made into a drink in hot water. If you're making a lot of cacao, you can put it all in a blender. If you're making just 1 cup of cacao, you can put the chocolate kind of cut up into a cup and then pour water, very hot water on top. Not so much, just enough to start the cacao to melt, and then you take a fork or a whisk and just, and usually all the cacao will melt and it will become very creamy and smooth. And then you can add spices to your choice. The cayenne pepper, or any spice really that has that kind of hot thing going on to it, will activate the cacao and allow it to move into your body a lot quicker. That's the traditional fusion with cacao. Though cacao is a very synergistic plant with many other different plants, so you can experiment with that, as cacao is an MAOI inhibitor that allows for other plants to work deeper and quicker into the body. Generally speaking, spices that are great for cacao, I recommend cardamom, cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg or mace, and if you're really feeling exotic, saffron. Just a little bit of coconut milk, maple syrup, or honey if you want to sweeten it. You don't have to. With the spices, often enough, that's enough to give it such a good flavor, because it's not sweet, it's quite bitter. And you think about 40 grams of pure chocolate. When you buy a bar of chocolate, it's less than that goes into that huge bar. So it's like you're eating like 1 or 2 whole candy bars in a drink, and it really, it does something for you. And of course, when we're working with any ceremony, it's our intention that activates the power of the medicine. So when you drink cacao, when you have that intention to go deeper into the connection with cacao, whatever you want to work on, if you share that with the cacao, and that's also part of the ceremonies that I host, is everyone really brings their intention to their own heart and feels that connection with cacao, and asks cacao, what can we work on together? What is it that we're ready to move together? So that intention will allow you to, expand into that relationship with cacao to see what cacao is ready to help you with. You can use cacao before meditation, before yoga, before anything creative like writing, making music, editing something, anything that really fuels your heart. Cacao will allow you to go deeper into that and kind of surrender to the flow of that. So I have cacao every day, and it is quite healthy. I find that it just boosts my energy. I don't find it to be this terrible addiction in any sense of that word. It's something that I can have, or I don't need to have if I don't have it at that day, and it just supports me in connecting deeper with whatever I would like to connect deeper with. So yeah, how did I discover cacao? Well, I was on a quest myself back in 2012. My spiritual journey began in 2010, 2011. I was having a lot of experiences, and I was only 18 at that time and recovering from some really traumatic incidences that occurred at that point in my life. And I was just looking for healing, and I knew I would find it in kind of going off the beaten path, kind of, diverging from what everyone else was doing and finding my own way. And I didn't know what that looked like, but I was diving into yoga, and that led me into becoming a Reiki master. That opened the door to so many other subtle workings with energy. And I had also traveled a bit in that time. I went to a rainbow gathering here in Washington State, where I am now, for the first time since all those years, so that's kind of an interesting experience I'm having today. But I went to this rainbow gathering, and I could say a lot about that. But at the time, it was something that was working out for me. It was really opening my mind and opening my heart to a lot of different experiences. And I wanted to go to one in Mexico, which happened to be at the Mayan sites where the sort of predictions around this time, 2012, were originally set out. And, it's where they had their calendar recorded, right? So I went there, and that was a whole experience in its own right. And I thought that I wanted to work with, the other medicine plants that I have come on my path. But I only got south enough to Guatemala and found this magical lake, San Marcos La Laguna, on this Lake Atitlan. And the first day I went to a cacao ceremony with my teacher, Keith, and that really changed a lot for me. I kept going back to it. I worked with him for 6 years, and it was a journey of many different chapters of really getting in touch with myself, learning that I create my reality, learning how to get in touch with my emotions and not project them out and not internalize them either, to allow myself to be aware of what was going on and to feel and to transform through many different modes that were all working with, how do we tap into our subconscious? How do we tap into all of these records that our soul has and all of these imprints that have occurred throughout our life? How do we get in touch with those emotions that are stored beneath there from this life, from past lives, from extraterrestrial lives, and let that go? And so, as well as that, he also works very powerfully in helping other people tap into their healing magic, allowing people to realize that they have this deep sense of inner knowing. So for me, watching people open to this psychic gift extravaganza was really incredible. It helped me step into my healership, into my gifts, and put them out in the world. And it also showed me how to create this space where everyone is free to have their own journey, yet everyone is connected through the same web of the space that is created, the heart energy, the love, the intention, and the focus on a specific intention. And how do we create that? I learned that through experience. I sat in probably over 100 ceremonies with him, most of which are 4 to 6 hours in length. And it was something that worked incredibly for me, and I still connect with Keith, and I'm so grateful for him. And his way of working with cacao is really to just create that container where everyone can dive into their heart, and through allowing people the space to share their process, to ask for support in their process, and demonstrating through their process firsthand how somebody can heal and transform. And through his assistance in that process, everyone would go deeper and learn, and then he would guide many different meditations and share different tools and sort of hidden hack codes for life and for working in these different realms that would help people go to the next level of their journey. And as I worked with this, it just opened the space for me to go deeper into all of the things that I was doing as well. In that village in Guatemala, San Marcos, people work with cacao in a variety of ways. Again, like I said, there's cacao yoga, cacao sound healing, cacao dancing, cacao creative workshops where people drink cacao and then make different creative works, art, pottery. I don't know if there's cacao pottery yet, but you should make that one. So, you can do anything that you want with cacao, and because it has this powerful heart energy, it's always going to expand into whatever you decide to create. So it's something that's going around the world, and it is a living spirit, and so I'll save this little woo-woo bit for the end. It's not woo-woo, it's real, but I just wanted to get all of the practical stuff covered first. Cacao is a spirit. Every plant is a consciousness beyond the physical substance that you see, and all of these plants have an intention, an agenda. They have a certain frequency that is aiding in our expansion. And a lot of people don't take cacao as seriously as, wow, this is a super powerful teacher plant. And I have come to see that cacao really is a powerful teacher plant, just from seeing the deep places that people have gone and working with cacao, the ceremonies I've been to, the ceremonies that I've led. People can go very deep with channeling and sound healing on their own, but the cacao allows it to be such a deeper experience because it brings everything to the surface so that you can't hide from anything. It's all there. And not only does it bring it to the surface, but it creates this kind of container, this deep coating of love that allows you to just hold space for yourself no matter what's happening. As working with these deep healing modalities can be very intense. Cacao, in a way, both deepens it and softens it. What was I saying? Hold on. So, cacao. Cacao is a very beautiful teacher plant. When my teacher got to Guatemala, he had, learned through channeling, learned through connecting with spirits, communing with spirits, and without even having the physical chocolate in his hands, the cacao spirit came to him in a meditation, in a vision, and asked him to find out why it was such a sacred plant. So by channeling and having this intuitive connection with the chocolate spirit, he explored Central America looking for the different strains of chocolate, and that's how he kind of developed this taste and this knowing of this chocolate has this frequency, this chocolate has that frequency. I have my own relationship with many plant spirits, and cacao is this consistent plant spirit that shows up and just teaches me how to surrender, how to be who I really am, how to put my heart on the table in a really beautiful way, how to keep centered in that vibration. So the myth that the Mayans and Aztecs had about cacao is that it was this great teacher that would emerge from the jungle in times of despair, in times of disconnection from nature, in order to help people reconnect with the power of their own heart and reconnect with the power of the natural world, so that, you know, the disharmony, the disruption into that, through the disruption to that connection could heal through people really, you know, receiving this pure vibration from the natural world. And that's what's happening now, is that we're really realizing that we've been disconnected from nature. Humanity has, at one point in our evolution, seen ourselves as separate from nature. And the environmental crisis that is occurring right now is super potent. And plant medicines, and especially subtle yet strong ones like cacao, are helping us heal that by taking our hearts back into nature. And that is one of the most powerful experiences that we can have. And that's why I'm doing the work I'm doing. So I hope this has explained to you a bit about what cacao is and where cacao can take you. And my teacher always said cacao is a partner, not a leader. The old paradigm of spirituality was that either a shaman or a teacher or a guru had the key for you and was going to do it for you, was going to heal you or fix you, or your kind of subservience to them is going to make you better. And this is not a way that we can continue. This is a very distorted, ego-based, ego-distorted spiritual paradigm. And cacao is one of the plants that is helping us break from that, as cacao is a partner, and cacao cannot force you to go into any space that you don't want to go to on your own. Cacao simply opens the door so that you are willing to face and hold space for yourself. And for that reason, cacao is both soft and strong at the same time, and is a plant teacher that will work for anyone regardless of their experience in the past with healing modalities or with plant medicines. One last thing to say, the health concern is, if you take antidepressants, you shouldn't have the full ceremonial dose of cacao, as well as if you have severe heart conditions or if you have a severe digestive disorder. Or people who are pregnant or breastfeeding may want to have less cacao, and there's no clear, definitive, oh, it's bad for pregnant women, though it is a stimulant and everyone has their own response to that, so it's better to just listen to your body. With that said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and it has either deepened your knowledge of cacao or it's piqued your curiosity to go into cacao and see what you can get from it. Much love and blessings to you, and have the best day ever.